Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the playground. I am so happy to have you here. I'm just going to take a deep breath before we get started. I am actually excited for this topic. I'm like in a time warp, I promise. I'm a little flustered and I'm just going to hit record because I have so much to say and a lot needs to come out. So I don't know. I'm just excited to dive in. And I was actually planning on doing an interview today, but yeah, the whole time thing, it's just I feel like I'm living one timeline, but I'm seeing things in another timeline. So I think things are happening and it's weird. I don't even know how to explain it. This is just gonna have to be another conversation that I come back to because I really want to get into today's topic, which honestly is a little bit related. And I want to dive into our perspective on busy people and just like being busy, what that means, what the assumptions are. I don't know, the different energies that are put into this word. And a lot of what I do is really question how I relate to different words. How I use the words, how they might play a part in my identity or my values or what my truths are. And I really get nitpicky on what definitions I hold as my truth, how I see things through that word or through the vibrations of the word, and understand that this beautiful language that we speak and all the languages, there's these words that are there to conceptualize an idea, and then we might have our own conditioning around what plays into that and how we form those concepts. So I want to talk about this because this has been reflected back to me a lot on how busy I am. And I want to start, I guess I'm like, I could start this anywhere, honestly. But last week, I was doing an activity with my daughter and we were making masks and we were decorating them. And on one side, we put decorations like stickers and gemstones and all that to represent how we show ourselves to the world, like who we want to show up as outwardly. And then on the other side, we wrote words that described us on the inside or what we thought maybe people don't see at first or maybe even know about us because we keep it to ourselves. And this was a very interesting exercise because I would say if I did that exercise, 5-10 years ago, the two sides would be very different. And as I was going through this exercise, of course, there were some things where I still recognize that fear of being seen, that mask that we put on when we show up to other people or different groups, different communities, maybe online. And you see the contrast of how you might identify on the inside. Now, as I was doing this, though, I was like, there's actually a lot of things that I value to my core that I am now expressing outwardly. And it got me in this, thought bubble of what are we perceiving that we're sharing versus what are we actually expressing and showing up with? And how does this affect our identity? Because one of the things that is often reflected back to me is how busy I am, how much I'm doing, how much is going on. And I'll say most times the projection is of a lower vibration, usually stress, usually like, I don't know how you can do that. There's the separation in that projection of you know, you have so much going on. I don't want to ask you for this. It's like deciding because outwardly I might show that I have a lot going on. And so I kind of want to just break this down because what's interesting is I really had to dig into this because I'm like, why is this being projected to me when, yes, I'm a busy person and I do a lot, but like I don't resonate with the chaos. I mean, things get chaotic. That's fun too. But like I don't identify with being like frazzled or like in a rush. And that's taken a lot of work to not identify with that. And I'm going to get into this, but I think that there's still a piece of me that has some conditioned beliefs around being busy. And so when people use that phrase, I'm like, but you don't understand. The busy that I am is different than the busy I was 5, 10 years ago. And so I want to get into this and really use this as a way to empower yourself, because if you're constantly being projected if it's constantly being like shown to you how busy you are and it's unsettling, then there's some things that we're probably committing to that are keeping us busy that are not in alignment. And where I think our human selves want to really keep busyness in is where we're just like misaligned and we're showing up to things all the time just for the sake of it because we committed to it, not because we actually want to or it's there for our growth or love, like where is the line of being busy for yourself and busy because you're committing to everyone else? And I think most people know about my general personal life. I don't share a ton specifically, even though I'm an open book. Like I literally talk about any area of my life, but I don't dwell on the fact that I have a lot to do and a lot of areas of my life that are pulling. And I think a part of that is like, I don't put that outwardly because I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. And I know there's some people who are busy and all they think about is how busy they are. Now, I know this because that was me. And it was constantly like, I'm so busy. When am I going to have time to do this or that? Like I was in such a lack mindset. And that's where the root of I want to say the lower frequency is lack mindset of like, oh, you're so busy, you don't have enough time to do something else. Oh, you're so busy that you'll have to rearrange things, which might be a burden to fit something in, and it's like, how can we empower ourselves to stop using that as an excuse? Like, if we are quote unquote busy, then what, like, and there's no room for shifting, there's no room for change, then like, how can we expect things to change, to be different, to get, better or worse, right? Like to experience something different if we want to commit to being busy and it being a struggle if something needs to change. Now, I'll be the first to admit I have a lot of energy around me. I have a lot of energy that I outsource into different things. I have a lot of things that give me energy. And if you look at this on paper, or if I told you it all right now, one of the adjectives you could use is probably busy. And so I just want to reframe, like, am I busy or am I just energetically aligned? And I think this really depends on the person and how they're honoring their energy. Because, yeah, I can, as a mom of 4, a wife, I'm a business owner, I support other entrepreneurs. I currently I'm doing a paper route. Like there's so many things that I could sit here and be like, yeah, I don't have time for anything new. But that is so limiting to me. And so when I feel the projection of you're so busy, so I didn't even want to ask you, it's like, oh, okay. Like okay. Like if that is the decision that you want to make, then okay, you know? And so I was really digging into this of like, what is it about me that gives off it's interesting because there's different relationships that I can look at. And some people will reflect to me, you're so busy, I didn't want to bother you. And I think everything's a reflection for me, like to just kind of see, like, is there a part of me that like doesn't want to be bothered by things because I think I'm not going to have time for it? And if I'm being honest, yeah, there's probably some things. And so it's like getting really clear on what am I open for? What I am like, if I am filling my cup and doing all these things for me. And so then I have all the energy to go do all the things, take the kids all the places, run a business and support other businesses. It's like, yeah, you might like from the outside looking in, it might seem like I'm running around with my head cut off. But technically, what happens is when I get really clear on what it is that I want to do and where I want to put my energy, and I start with the things that fill my cup first, from the outside looking in, it probably looks like I have an endless amount of energy. And I don't list my 1 to 2 hours every day that I am with myself, that I'm meditating, that I'm doing yoga, that I'm out in nature, that I am talking to my guides, that I'm receiving support, right? Whether it be Reiki or a massage or a facial, whatever it is. A very busy person may or may not make time for themselves. And so, how are you viewing busy people? And do you know, like, is there, right? This is very subjective because it's like, how, like, one person that might seem busy to you, and then like might be standing next to somebody else who you think is busy, but they may have completely different responsibilities. And one of them might have like 20 hours of downtime in their week, and one of them might not. But like, how are we perceiving their life? You know, so interesting enough to observe other people, but like the best person to look at is yourself. And what is your relationship with like needing to stay busy, right? Like, are you staying busy to distract yourself? Are you staying busy because you like everything that you're committing to and it truly lights you up? So really ask yourself, like, do I have this belief that being busy is good or bad? Because to me, when people say, oh, you're so busy, I take that as a compliment. I'm like, thank you. I am. And I truly enjoy everything I do. But if there's something new that comes in that I want to do, like I'm never too busy. Like I am always open for things that are aligned. So when people say that I'm busy or identify, oh, she's a busy person, I mean, I fully claim that because I like that part about me. So what is your perspective on busy people? I have like this image of what I'm not gonna remember the full name. Busy Town. It was like a cartoon. I'm sure it probably still is, but it's like I should look up the definition of busy too. But it's like constantly going, constantly moving, going from one thing to the next, right? Like that's busy town. But like in busy town, there's lots of happy people. Like it's just like there's this big contrast of like the busy that I think people want to associate of like separate. Like let's keep them over there because they're busy. Rather than this person's really busy, so they must know how to discern their activities, what they're committing to. They must know how to manage their energy, know when to rest, right? Now, that's different than a busy, burnt out person. So it's like a part of me does take on the lower vibrations, the lower frequencies of when people say, I'm busy. And I will notice that it's like, it's like that comment when you have kids and they're like, how many kids do you have? And you're like, I have 4 kids. And they're like, oh, you're busy. Well, sure. But, like I could be a busy person without 4 kids. So it's like, what do you take on when people say things like that, especially about your schedule, about your routine? And like this comes a lot around with boundaries too, I feel like, because I value my commitments. And so with my quote unquote free time or my unplanned time, I have strict boundaries around that. Like I'm not as spontaneous when I know it needs to be something that's like really rejuvenating for me. And I use that at, like I know what I need when I need it. And part of that is because I know what my commitments are. Like if I fill a lot of my schedule with different commitments and I just know that this is what I'm showing up for, well, then in all of the other time, I'm going to be very discerning about who I'm hanging out with and what I'm doing. And if it's people who are always going to tell me over and over again that I'm too busy, I don't want to hang out with them. Mainly because I can feel like my busyness is something that I'm proud of. Because I'm now down to doing things that really light me up. I make them a priority. I don't do everything else first and then fill in the things that I like. And that's really triggering for people when I make myself a priority before some other commitments. And being able to talk about that, being able to express that, it's very easy for people to say, well, you're just busy. And so thinking about like, what part of me really takes that on? And I notice this in different relationships that I have. If you go and hang out with people and they're always talking about like, well, I have this to do and I have this to do, and I had to run all over town earlier, like that is the energy of feeling like you don't have enough time to do anything, or you don't have enough time to rest. You don't have enough time to tend to yourself. And I don't sit in that energy. And so the relationships that I have that are constantly highlighting that they're in lack or that they're, just scarcity mindset around their time, it doesn't serve me, because then I start thinking about how busy I am. And I start thinking like, should it be different? And that's where you really can catch on of like, okay, am I taking this belief on and is it affecting how I actually feel? Because the projections of, oh, they're so busy, and it's very true. Like I am pretty like if you want to hang out, like it can't just happen this afternoon. Maybe, like very rarely. But that's not in my best interest. And so that projection of, oh, you're too busy to hang out. It's like, no, like I just plan a little bit ahead of time. And, depending on where I'm at in my life, it might not coincide when you're available. And so I really just wanted to share my perspective on this and how I stay grounded in like what I know is true. Because I've been in this thought process too of like, how do these people get so much done? I have been a business owner for several years now, and I had started fostering and then adopting, and it's like the motherhood series in my life really had me questioning, like, how do I want to be busy? Like, how do I want to spend my time? And I had to reframe my thought on that. I was like, I can't dwell on being a busy mom because that's just one area of my life, a big area that is intertwined with lots of other areas of my life. But I am more than a busy mom. And that's the narrative I kept hearing and hearing in foster care. You got extra appointments and extra meetings, and like you just hear it all of all the things you have to do. And I'm like, okay, this is enough. Like, I wanted to be a foster parent, so I have no doubt that everything that I need to do to be a foster parent and to continue fostering, whatever, all the requirements, is in my capacity. And it's not going to hold me back from doing other things that I want to do. I had to believe that because I was so tired of hearing how busy you are when your kids start going here and when they get this age. And like, you just hear about all the stress and all the busyness that it can be. And I'm like, okay, this is great, but it doesn't feel good to sit here and think about how busy I'm going to be and how I don't have time for myself, because I think that is BS. Like, BS. I like never want somebody to be like, I don't want to become a mom because then I'm not going to have time for myself. Anyway, there's a lot of like wounds that come up when we get triggered around people having opinions on our schedule, our routines, our commitments. And, you know, one of the things that I just had to come back to is like, this is getting projected to me. And like, how do I really feel? And if I really feel like, okay, I'm not like, do I actually feel busy? Yes. Do I feel like that's a bad thing? No. Do I feel flexible enough that I can shift around my schedule, that I can be in my flow? Yes. Okay. Is this related to doing too much? Am I distracting myself? You know, there's all these questions I could ask, but the wounds that really were coming up for me were, you know, different childhood wounds, and that especially like worthiness and like productivity and success, right? And we can get in this thought of like, you know, the more I do, the busier I am, the more successful I am, the more productive I am. And really zooming out on these. And it's like, what is our definition of success? What does it mean to be productive? And what have we been told? What stories are we telling about it, about productivity? Like, what does that have to look like? My favorite thing ever as an adult that I heard was rest is productive. And as a manifesting generator, like, I am somebody who has consistent, reliable access to life force energy. Like, I have energy to go do, but that doesn't serve me if I'm not resting, if I'm not honoring my energy, and if I'm not doing the things that I actually want to do. Like, if I'm constantly doing things that I'm bitter towards or I don't want to do, like, it's going to drain my energy. It's going to feel busy even if I'm only doing like one job, right? That will feel busy. So getting really clear with like, am I distracting myself? Are there things that I'm committing to that are keeping me busy that I don't want to, like, that aren't aligned? This is where I love recommending. And if you work with me one-on-one or you purchase the zoomed out workbook, you're going to do this exercise where I call it the energetic exchange, and you inventory basically everywhere that you are spending your energy. And then you think about how you're restoring your energy. And I guarantee if it's only through the 5-6 hours of sleep that you're getting, you're burnt out. And that's a reality check for a lot of people. So then it's like, okay, well, what am I doing that I no longer want to be doing or need to be doing, but I'm just still committing to it because at one point I committed to it. This comes back to that worthiness, that productivity, success, and getting clear on like, is being a busy person mean success? Does it mean you're productive? And get in the nitty-gritty of that, because there's layers to that, right? Think about like how you were modeled as a kid, like what was productive, what was successful. Were you shown how to rest? Were you shown how to discern your commitments? So yeah, I, like as a mom, a business owner, I am a contracted employee, and I am a teammate for a couple teams, and it's like I have a lot going on. I will never ever deny that. But there came a point where I had to like take responsibility for what I was committing to, for what I was sharing, and for what, like what am I doing with my life? It's like the last episode, like who am I living for? And so if you have this projection of like, oh, you're too busy, like use that as a mirror for a little bit. Because also pay attention to who's reflecting that to you. You'll notice different things, right? Like some people that reflect that I am busy, it's like compared to their life 100%, you know? And compared to what they're trying to get from me 100%. Like if it's somebody who wants to hang out with me every single week, like, yeah, I'm sorry. I am going to be busy in your terms, right? Like in using their language. So one of the things that I found value in is just being more discerning on who I'm sharing with, like sharing like what I'm doing, what I'm committing to. Because one, like nobody needs access to that information unless you want to give it to them. And so it's like how are you talking about your schedule, your life, your commitments is important to think about, because that's also how, like, right, like if I'm saying like I just took on this paper route and I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I have to get up so early, which means I have to go to bed so early. And, like if that's how I'm sharing my news, like that's how they're receiving it for one, as it's a burden that I just took on. So one, like if that's the way you want to describe that to somebody, is it something you really want to do? Is that the way you're describing it to that specific person or group? And then I think, okay, do you even need to be sharing that with them? Yes, I started a paper out. I don't even know if I've said this on the podcast, but I started a paper out and I was very intentional to not tell anybody except the people that it involved, which was my wife. I told my kids eventually. But like, and I told a few people who, I don't know, like I just did in passing, but I didn't share with a lot of people because honestly, I didn't want the projections of why would you do that, and when are you going to sleep, and how's that going to work out? And I didn't need everyone else to tell me what they were worried about, you know? So it's like, be more discerning about your decisions, your commitments. And it's not saying like gatekeep and don't share with people, especially if you're excited. Like if you're excited and you want to share, it's going to like do that, right? Like it's going to come out and it's going to be received at a higher frequency than I just took this on because I need the money or because whatever. Like it is like fully claiming your commitments with confidence really shuts down any reflections of lower frequencies. I really think that I just stay in my energy. And this is where your intuition can really help you, because I have another example of somebody, they got a new job and they really wanted to share with somebody, but they knew that their response wasn't going to be what they wanted to hear. Okay. So there's a few things here we want to share, but we also have this expectation of what we want to receive in return. Now, we could be assuming that that's how they're going to respond, and we could be wrong. This person could be wrong, but then it's like, okay, well, if you really want to share with that person and you know that they might not have the best response or the response that you would like to receive, how can you set it up to share with them without needing a response? How can you set it up to share with them and know that this response might come in, but it's a reflection of where they're at? So it's like being aware. Like, I thought that this person was very well informed of, I want to share this piece of information. However, I am thinking that this might be the response or outcome, and I don't want that. So how can you come in with a different energy? How can you set a clear boundary of, I want to share this news with you, but I really don't need a response right now, or and like, you can be clear, be like, I want to share with you, but I don't want to talk about it. Like, I want to share this piece of news with you, but I'm not going to discuss it with you right now. And it's like, those are the boundaries that really save your mental health. Like, not everyone needs to know everything that's going on, especially if you're like in the decision phase or like it's new, right? And here's the thing with me is, I'll make changes, I'll do things, I'll add things in, I'll take things out, whatever. I'll add new projects into my life. I honestly step into it before I share anything because, one, I might change my mind. And that's just like me. And then I know if I'm already in it, like, I'm already bringing the energy of like, I got this. Like this is a part of my schedule now. This is a part of me now. It might not always be. It might come to an end. It might change. And that's another reason why, like, I don't over inform, because that would be just a lot of informing, because I do change my mind quite a bit. So I want to provide some tips and just some reflections, because I feel, I'm like, did I make myself clear here? We're gonna let my guys come in for a minute too, because what I really want to get at is, like, in the 3D, busy will have a different connotation depending on who you're talking to, depending on the group you're in. And when do we use that as an excuse for something that we want? Like, I hear this all the time. I want to start a business, but I'm so busy. I don't know when I would work on it. I want to go back to school, but I'm so busy. And it's like, who are we giving our power away to? Time, right? Or, I mean, something outside of us for sure, whether that's your job or your other commitments right now. And like, I don't know, I just want to like say, like, wake up, because being busy is not an excuse. Because if you're busy, that means you have committed to things up until now. And you're basically saying, I'm so busy, I can't change. I can't move anything around. I can't open up for things that I actually want. And so, like, really define, what does busy mean? Remove the good or bad, because on the 3D level, like, we're going to have some opinion, some hierarchy, right? Of good or bad, better or worse. And I would be the person to argue that Joe over in Costa Rica, who wakes up, goes to the beach, meditates, goes down to the market, says hello to all of his friends, picks up his produce, drops off some things, some supplies, like, like, in the flow. I would say that they could be considered busy. They are busy, right? So it's like, where do we have to like decide that, oh, this is the good busy and this is the bad busy? Like, there's not, but we get to decide what we are busy with. And if we want to zoom all the way out for fun, like, we're all busy, like literally all of us, even if I sit on my couch all day, because that's what I'm choosing to do. So I am busy sitting on my couch, busy. We're all busy in this human experience. And the difference for me is like, call me busy, but I am here living my life. And I'm doing all the things because that's what I'm here to do. And of course I'm resting. And that's one of the perspective shifts that I have is like, I used to claim that I was busy and it was like a detriment. It was like, I was sad about it. And now it's like, I am busy, but it's because I am full of life. And I have this energy to go do all the things that I want to do. And because I'm busy, I know how to manage my energy. I know how to work with time. I know how to manifest, which makes a busy person seem like they're doing a whole lot of things. Seems like things just drop in for them. Well, how'd that happen? You're so busy. Exactly. I am busy in alignment. And that's like my favorite question right now. Like, am I busy or am I just living in alignment? And that really just like shocks people. They're like, oh, and it's like, I am busy because I'm choosing what I want to show up to. And I'm choosing when I no longer want to show up to that thing. And I'm honoring that. And that's something that a lot of quote unquote busy people struggle with, is letting go of the commitments, is adjusting or rearranging the commitments. So some things that have really helped me like hone this in and get clear on like, how do I operate? Like, what's best for me? Because everyone's different. Like, not everyone is me. Not everyone's a manifesting generator who has a wife and 4 kids and all the other things. So this is not a comparison thing, but getting to know yourself, how you operate, what your needs are, what your desires are, what lights you up, what drains you, right? Like, you need to get specific and clear on what it is you're already doing to really decide like, okay, how do I feel about my life and how do I feel about where I'm putting my energy, how I'm spending my time, how I feel about the conversations I'm having. I will tell you right now, if you are around people who are always talking about time and you're around people who are talking about like all the things they have to do and have to do, right? This keyword, all the things that they had to do. And it's like, if that is always the conversation, you're going to feel the lack all the time. So my number one tip, honestly, is be intentional about being in your own energy. Like, you have to zone in to your energy. I do this multiple times throughout the day. I start my day with it. I end my day with it. I am intentional about at least an hour by myself every single day. And then when I need it, like, I go for longer periods, because this allows me to say, oh, I was just holding on to that because I've had lots of conversations about what this means to other people. Like the whole, oh, I'm busy, right? So staying in my energy, being in my energy, checking in with myself. Because like I said, like, if you're around people who are stressing about time all the time, or what they have to do, or, you know, lower vibrational conversations, just around lack in general. This could be about money, time, resources, anything. Like, it is influencing your beliefs and your thoughts. Like, I will tell you this, it's just 100% that's what's happening. So the way to know that that's happening is to come back to yourself and check in with yourself and say, and be honest. Like, this is radical self honesty. because like you can't sit there and ignore, I feel a little bit anxious about all the things I have to do tomorrow, and just say, I'm cool. Like I have a lot of stuff on my plate, but I feel good. Like you have to be honest. Like I am sensing my anxiety about all the things that I have to do tomorrow or that's on my calendar tomorrow. And then you sit with yourself and you decide, how do I want to show up to this? And you will be a completely different person if you decide to show up to things not thinking about all the other things you need to do. It's a blessing to be able to be in the present moment. So checking in on your commitments, on what it is that you're doing, and energetically preparing for what's coming ahead. And this is where I think a lot of people kind of question this with human design, and also just like as you become more intuitive, is when you enjoy being in flow, but like you also need a schedule, right? Because it's all about that balance. Like you need that schedule structure to hold you in order to flow. And as a mom of 4, as a businesswoman, like there's a lot of scheduling, and you can overdo it on the scheduling where it does feel very busy, where it does feel very, I don't have time to do what I want to do. And this is where you can be really intentional with, okay, you have these commitments. You can schedule things out. You can block time. You can have certain days or certain periods or like a couple hours a day where it's scheduled, but like what you are actually doing during that time changes. There's fluidity. And for me, that was huge because it's like I had, like, if I went just all flow, I would have no container to know like what I needed to do and when. Like I would end an undefined route here. I would put everything off until the last minute. I know this from experience. And like, you know what? Sometimes I do that still. Like sometimes I just wait because that undefined route pressure really serves me sometimes. But checking in with your commitments is going to be huge. And I know I've mentioned quite a few things about human design. So understanding your human design. And I talked about variables in the mindset and intuition episode, but there is a variable in human design. It's, if you're looking at the chart, it's the bottom left arrow. And this is really about being active or more of the observer in your environment. And if it's facing left, then you are meant to be the one who is observed. So you're actively doing things in the correct environment. And if it's facing right, then you are the one observing. And if you find yourself in the right environments, then you are more of one of like the overseer. You're kind of like watching people. My arrow is facing left. So in my correct environments, I am the person who is kind of doing more, is doing the things, and people are noticing, people are watching. So this is not to say, oh, busy or not, right? That's not what I want to get at here. But this is where like you need to redefine busy for yourself. And what does that feel like for you? Because to me, I mean, it's a pendulum. You need both. You need time where you can observe, and you need time where you can be the observed. But I feel like when I am rested and I've had my alone time, and when I come into environments where there's other people, I love doing. And this, I see this every day. Like if I go and serve other people, like I don't want to do anything at home. I want to be the one sitting on the couch. And if I wake up and really tune into myself, get clear on what my energy is, set my frequency, do all my stuff that makes me feel good, that really lights me up, and then I do all my work, whatever, I actually really enjoy being busy at home, like doing things at home in the evening. And it's like, it's almost like how does that work? Right? Like, it's kind of like my ego is like, I don't get that. And it doesn't have to get that. It just happens. Like, my body will move when it is ready to be moving. And that's the beautiful thing about really honoring myself and honoring what I want to commit to and using that energy to do the things that maybe I'm not so excited about, to shift my frequency and show up in a way that does feel good, even if it's like folding laundry. Like, I can get so hype about folding laundry, and it's because I've done the frequency work. I've done all this extra, not extra, but it is August 1st, 1:11 p.m. I see a bunch of ones. It's a new beginning. But no, back on track. That totally distracted me. Love that for us. I have more energy to do the things that I want to do, and I have more energy to shift my perspective and my energy if I am showing up to something that I don't feel great about. It's like how you do the things that don't light you up when you still need to do them. You know? Like, there's just some things that as humans we do that big picture they actually help us serve us, but in the moment we might not always like doing them. For me, that's like putting away laundry. But when I have been intentional with my commitments and I'm not showing up to things that I dread all day long, I can show up and do the laundry, and it's actually very meditative for me. And I can sit in the frequency of, this is serving me, my family, my house, my environment, to put this stuff away. It takes it. It's a whole different like lifestyle shift, honestly. And it's not a matter of like doing this first and doing that necessarily, because I've done it where I've flip-flopped. I prefer to do things in a certain, I don't even want to say order, but order. But it doesn't always work out that way, and I have to be open to receiving the energies in different capacities. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it will be interesting to dig into your perspective on being busy and who are you showing up for? Who are you living for? Because if you feel like, yes, I'm a very busy person and I don't have time to do the things I want to do, then I highly encourage you to think about your commitments and your priorities, and how can we shift that to be more centered into your desires and what lights you up, because that's what you're here for. Like, you're not here to be busy for other people. If you're going to be busy, then you may as well be doing it with the stuff that you like to do, or the things that are going to help you get to where you want to go. Okay. I hope this is helpful. If you haven't gotten into human design yet, then definitely check out on my website. I have a free guide for you to understand just the basics of your human design chart. And you can download that and you'll get the link to where you can download your free chart as well. And I highly recommend the awareness activation masterclass, which is also free. And there's some good journal prompts. Like, if you're like, I don't even know where to start with this, yeah, check out that. But otherwise, I think we're gonna wrap. I feel like this is complete. I hope this was helpful and just kind of like a fun reframe. I love thinking about, how we work with different words and definitions and how we can redefine them to completely empower us and shift our perspective. So have fun thinking about this and journaling. And yeah, definitely share like what comes to the surface for you. I would love to know. And this is a lot of this is based on my perspective. So if you have other perspectives on what it means to be busy and how we associate busy people with not having enough time and being in scarcity mindsets, please share. And yeah, I think that's it. So if you enjoyed this episode, please take a screenshot, share it on social media, and you can tag us at the Intuition Playground on Instagram. Or if you'd like to leave a review, remember that you will receive a free card pull from yours truly. And to get that, you'll just have to take a screenshot of the review or the rating and send it to info@theintuitionplayground.com. All right, my friends. I will talk to you all next time on the Intuition Playground.